welcome to the Pulse Collective podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the PCP, otherwise known as the Pulse Collective podcast. I'm your host, Shahrukh Ansari. The Pulse Collective podcast, for those of you that are new, is a new podcast that we are launching where we're featuring top business executives and leaders, founders, CEOs from all across the globe. And we're basically featuring them to allow for a lot of tidbits, any piece of advice that they can share for our audience or other young entrepreneurs alike. If those of you are new, we are Pulse Marketing Collective. We are a growth partnership where we help a lot of businesses essentially grow their clientele, boost new clients, engage their customers with a high degree of efficiency, and also allow for better customer retention as well. If you're in the market looking for better ways and more efficient ways to actually integrate AI as well into your processes, you're in the right place. Now that we have everything out of the way, I'm really excited today because I'm actually joined by Jodi Scott. Jodi is the co-founder and CEO of Green Goo, which is a very unique plant-based first aid and personal care brand that's known for its slow-infused herbal formulations and purposeful ingredients. Jodi has built her career at the intersection of health psychology, product innovation, and brand building. And with Green Goo's new chapter that she's going to go into a lot more detail about, she's now rethinking about how a new established retail brand can scale in a new AI-generated. I'm giving you a very high-level overview. She has a lot more to tell you about. But Jodi, I'm super excited to have you on the show today.
It's great to be here with you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, let's get right into it. Jodi, can you kick us off by just sharing a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what Green Goo is all about?
Thank you. So I have a master's in health psychology, was pre-med, specialized in psychoneuroimmunology, and my passion was to really change medicine and how it was typically interface physician-patient. So I was training resident physicians on the biopsychosocial model and essentially training them to look at the patient beyond just a prescription. During that time, my sister was going to herb school and becoming a midwife. She shared with me this practice of making medicine from plants. And what was most interesting about what she was doing is she was making these topical therapeutics. And personally, we've always been very passionate about clean and healthy living. We had organic food, we had clean personal care products. But when I opened up my first aid cabinet, that's where all the exceptions took place. Chemicals, one-time use, no sustainability. So what I found really interesting with what she was developing was there a place in the OTC space where we could actually make plant-based first aid products? And what was more interesting as we started making these formulas, selling them at the farmers markets, getting a lot of great customer commitment and their testimonials and their anecdotal experience, we recognized there was really something in these formulas that we were creating. So I started looking at the first aid space more strategically. And what I noticed was that we weren't alone. The natural consumer was willing to abandon their natural ethos because they were told chemical-laden products were the only products that could get the job done. And then furthermore, the conventional consumer was like, I don't care what the ingredients are. I have a chronic skin condition. I am incredibly inconvenienced by using a product that I can only use 7 to 10 days because if you continue using and symptoms persist, it can create toxic effects. And then they have to go see their physician. So there was this huge market looking for products that just worked better and available over the counter. So with that information in mind, that is how Green Goo was born. And we wanted to make plant-based first aid products that were superior in efficacy first, but then also bring sustainability and plant-based ingredients.
So that's actually really interesting. I'm curious from like a person who obviously is not very knowledgeable when it comes to kind of the efficacy of things that are a little bit more plant-based. But just looking at a lot of people when they look at more natural supplementation, like they look at natural medication, there's always that big question mark. So how do you actually, in your value proposition to people, ensure that, this is just as effective as these other products that are sold on the marketplace?
Absolutely. Great question. So, truly, these products, or better stated, let me rewind. So it's modern wellness with ancient herbal wisdom. Plants were the innovators to most of the products that we interact with today. Even if they aren't natural or clean, they were the inspiration. So we're really bringing a time-honored tradition that has been around for arguably thousands of years. We know for sure hundreds plus years. Initially, plants were not dedicated in the in the wellness space as having sort of scientific evidence behind them. The natural category was really a compromise. You chose something natural because it meant something to you, not because you thought it was going to perform better. I'm going to pick this shampoo or this deodorant, not because I think it's going to perform better, but because it's cleaner ingredients and I believe in it, whether it's for your own personal wealth or for our health or for the environment. But fast forward, what's really interesting now is now the FDA is investing in botanical science. So Green Goo, for example, is registered with the FDA, and now there are a plethora of herbs that the FDA has invested in the research to say, this is the active ingredient and this is what it does. Now, my sister being the herbalist would argue, hey, you know what? Calendula is more than just an astringent. It's antifungal, antimicrobial, anti-yeast. It slows down the bleeding, speeds up the healing. However, the only thing that we can say calendula does is what the FDA recognizes it. So on our label, it's an astringent. There's a number of ingredients in our products that have not been identified by the FDA as being a quote unquote active ingredient. So we have to put that below and say it's an inactive ingredient. Yet we all know that those herbs have a very specific efficacy to them. I also will add to the process is incredibly important. Most of the products that you get on the market are made from extracts or some byproduct of the plant. So we still to this day make the product the same way that we did, just scaled up when we first started, which means we bring the whole plant to our manufacturing facility. We take it through this extraction process, yield high amounts of the medicinal properties from the plants. Then those custom oils go into these products. So you cannot get this one concentration of plant or this botanical profile anywhere else on the market. And that entourage effect very much contributes to the efficacy, in addition to the fact eliminating potential ingredients that may inhibit the plant's efficacy and properties. So that process is really important.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm curious on the regulation side of things. Like, do you ever run into any obstacles when it comes to obviously the things the FDA is regulating? Like, you kind of covered it briefly in terms of the active and inactive ingredients and how you have to label it. But do you see kind of some ongoing challenges? You mentioned like your sister obviously knows a lot about these individual ingredients. This is what she's studied. But is there kind of an ongoing back and forth between you trying to like overcome certain regulations so they can be labeled a certain type of way?
We don't push the threshold on the Green Goo side, meaning if the FDA says this is what the active ingredient does and this is what we do. Now, we do over disclose. Well, you'll look at OTC products. A lot of the inactive ingredients are not even on the label. We will include every single ingredient that's in our product because those inactive ingredients do have a purpose and they're giving the customer value. Now, I will say when we created a sexual wellness brand called Southern Butter, we found it interesting that the FDA wanted you to test on animals in order for you to get your certification to be able to use a product as a lubricant. Now, when you test on animals, you lose your cruelty-free certification. So for us in the OTC space, in the first aid space, it was very important that we continue to keep our cruelty-free certification because that was a big distinguisher amongst our competitors. They've all tested on animals. And so we did work with the FDA and first challenged it, but then worked with the FDA for almost 5 or 6 years to get our lubricant across the finish line without having to test on animals by providing enough data that was available in the market to support why these ingredients, were not going to be toxic and that there wasn't a need to test on animals. So it is ever changing. And I would say the botanical science is still it's interesting because it's been around for so much longer than modern Western medicine. But in terms of integrating it, and I think this notion of we've called it alternative medicine for so long, and it's really not alternative. It's compatible, it's integrative, it's holistic. You bring this in with your Western medicine, and you don't necessarily, yes, we're selling a replacement for your OTC products, but in the general sense, I think this idea that you have to pick a lane is starting to become blurry as people recognize there are advantages to Western medicine combined with some of these more ancient practices.
Curious on your take, just given everything that you know when it comes to more like alternative medicine and wellness. There's from just a regular person, there's an ongoing trend towards actual like natural medication, natural wellness methods. Like people are not really trying to even partake in invasive treatments anymore. Everything leans to just being more plant-based. Like they want to, people are eating cleaner. People are like living healthier lifestyles. They're going to the gym more. Like people are just trying to be more active. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with what you guys are doing. And the market is really headed in that direction. So when you were actually looking at this kind of from a market perspective at a more macro level, how do you see this industry shaping out over the next 5, 10 years?
It's so true. And it's wonderful to see that when we first started this, we were part of forging the path of the plant-based renaissance. And now it's here. For the first time I sat in front of a pharmacy buyer and I said, I've got a plant-based first aid. And he was like, yeah, right. So it's really fun to have more than a decade of 5-star reviews to prove the efficacy and the value here. I'll say specifically with Green Goo, what's interesting too, it's probably the most anti-capitalistic business model because the more you use Green Goo, the less you need it. And you will find that if you are partaking in cleaner, healthier, alternative practices, your body starts to feel better, look better. You're not getting sick as much. You don't need it in the same way. Now, of course, you want your wellness journey is a compounded forever journey. So you don't want to stop doing these things as soon as you start feeling good, but you don't have to do them at the same level that you were doing before. And then you find all kinds of, more things you can be doing, which is just awesome because you're rewarded. Like people are like, what do you do to your skin? And I'm like, I just put Green Goo on. That's it. And they're like, oh, come on, you've got to have all these other regimens. I'm like, no, because I'm hydrating my skin. I'm giving my largest organ like all these beautiful nutrients. And what I'll share with people, like, especially when you start talking about this wellness journey and the shift that people are taking, a doctor loves to work on a healthy patient. So when an accident or major intervention needs to take place, because you've been on this wellness journey and you've been taking such good care of yourself, you're going to recover better, have a better medical experience. And there's value to that in itself as you start thinking about your own longevity in this journey. And I'm just really excited to see the shift in the market in terms of, because every time you buy a clean product or you participate in a service that is supporting longevity and wellness, you're changing the world. And it was really hard when we first started and we were the lonely plant-based product that was out there on the shelf. And now, we're better in numbers as we start changing the world. And then we're going to see the domino effect on our environment and of course, just healthier, happier living. And as we go through this wellness journey, we'll start to see, like when I started in psychoneuroimmunology, it's very much full circle that I get to see now because it's like there's more studies coming out now in behavioral medicine and wellness and skincare and dermatology that your skin isn't just the largest organ to protect the organs inside. It has all these neurotransmitters as it's like taking in and feeding all this information. And when you give it the nutrients and you take care of it in the way that it was meant to be taken care of, you wake up the next day and you feel better. I'll have so many customers be like, I just buttered up. We call it butter up, where you put the salve on from like head to toe, put your bathrobe on, read a book, do some work, do your laundry, whatever. Let your skin just soak it up. And the next day you're like, I just feel better. Like, why is that? And that's that mind-body connection that is so interconnected.
Yeah, it's one of those things like I find it really interesting that you guys are obviously a little bit more of the pioneers, you want to say, like, because you've been around for a while. But I'm just seeing a lot of people now, like, even a regular person is not willing to go and do a lot of invasive treatments. Like, I touched base on that a little bit, but you're seeing, like, I was just talking to a founder of this really big IV wellness clinic down south, and they've opened across multiple states now, and they're expanding really quickly. And it was literally built upon just 10 years ago. He was telling me that, I was coming into this space and it was brand new. You had to like tell people you don't need to inject yourself with this, but you can take a vitamin shot instead. And actually, the funny thing is, his story, he actually had a chronic illness himself. And 15 years later, he's completely fine. And what was the only solution that he did? He started to taking vitamins, minerals, things like that through needles. And that's ultimately what started his business. So I just find it really cool that we're going back to before this scientific revolution. We're going back to what our ancestors were doing. And we're basically implementing all those things again. I want to get into your business a little bit because I find your story really interesting. Of course, you've been around for a while, and then you kind of had two phases of your journey. I know previously you were more retail driven and everything was more like just like not door to door, but just more like physically in stores. How have you evolved? And can you kind of take us through your overall journey as a business?
So we were growing just leaps and bounds. And as a first aid brand, at the time, most people, you go to your local pharmacy. If you have poison ivy, you get your solution same day. And so we were 95 plus retail. We grew in less than 4 years to over 150,000 points of distribution, all the major pharmacies, major grocery retailers, and so forth. Then COVID happened, the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden, no one's going in the stores. And you're going, oh, wow. And talk about a major pivot. And then you're thinking, can you be an online brand in the OTC space? And so we started investing in what that looks like and very quickly got phenomenal results. I mean, overnight, it was like an X. I mean, it was just something astronomical. And we were like, wow, you can be an OTC brand online. And of course, we saw optimizations in that process, right? Like now they're same day shipping and various other avenues for you to get stuff to your door in that same amount of time. And then what we recognized, so we saw a bunch of untapped potential in that arena. And then we're competing against the biggest brands in the world, right? They have deep pockets. They're very well established. They didn't get beat up the same way we did in the pandemic. And so we started realizing like we need a financial partner. We need an investor or something if we're going to compete and not try to keep bootstrapping this. So we started that process in terms of what does it mean to go to market and find whether it's a VC or a PE or a strategic partner. And we had a lot of interest from your traditional chemical laden products, brands, companies looking for a natural bolt on. You know, they were like, oh, okay, well, maybe we'll dip our toes into a natural brand and bring it into the portfolio. And that just felt really disingenuous to us in terms of the real DNA of how we built this company. And so we eventually found a company that was an international company that was very focused on building a plant-based portfolio. So it was very early stage, but they had the financial backing to be able to take this portfolio and make it international. And they had an international footprint. So it really checked the boxes for us. We're like, okay, plant-based, international footprint, financial resources to be able to really go after this space and not just be a plant-based solution as an alternative, but be the go-to first aid solution. I mean, at this point, John Hopkins is using our product in their scleroderma and skin condition department for over a decade. I've got people who are using our products for opioid withdrawal or pain relief product to help them with like the muscle pain. I've got NFL players using our products. I mean, paraplegics, the only thing that helps with
That's
their
so
wound
cool.
care. I mean, it was just incredible. And so we move forward with this transaction and in this transaction we lose total control, but we are very much a part of moving forward with this organization. So it was a strategic partnership, but we weren't going anywhere. But it did mean we didn't have control. Unfortunately, what happened was the founder, who is also the one who brought the financial resources to the organization, was raided by the feds and eventually went under a lot of scrutiny through a number of different allegations. And it was pretty tough because there was no changing the situation for us in terms of where we were at. And I had less than 24 hours to fire my entire team. And they lost all of their financial resources ultimately and really lost consumer confidence because their whole brand and company now was tarnished by these. They were allegations at the time, but the domino effect happened. And I mean, I had to fire my mom and sister, my husband, my brother-in-law, best friends from college who had changed their careers to come work for us, employee number one. And then we're all unemployed and we're going, what do we do? And we're just watching our brand fall apart. Like there's no production, it's getting pulled off the shelf because you can't fulfill. And
Wow.
and it was like watching like your worst nightmare in front of you and then you lose like your sense of purpose. You're like, what is my purpose? Well, I mean, this has been like my firstborn child, if you will, and
Yeah.
what
Imagine.
I why I wake up every day and what I felt like I was meant to do. And we're sitting at the kitchen table and we're crying, we're going through like, what do we do next? And at one point I go to my sister, I'm like, how much goo do you have? Like, which products do you have? And she's like, I only have a couple jars. And I'm like to my mom, I'm like, hey, do you have any of the deodorant, the toothpaste plus the goo? And she's like, I only have this or this. So we're like literally pooling our inventory together for our own personal use because I'm like, I can't live without this. And my sister's like, I can't live without it. And my mom's like, I can't live without it. So we were like, are we really going to go back to start making this in our kitchen because we just need it? Like, what are we talking about here? While we're getting emails from customers going, I can't get my product. My son, who's a paraplegic, like, this is the only thing we use, and that's going on and on. And so that's when we looked at each other and we said, all right, well, let's see if we can buy the company back. And mind you, we had there was no financial exchange. So all of this stuff happened so quickly. We didn't have any monetary gain. So now we not only didn't have a monetary gain, but we have to like somehow come up with the money to buy it back and go, what happened to our brand in that process?
Oh
And
God.
talk about some hard days, hard days.
How long was that between when you basically sold it to when you bought it again? Like, what was the time period?
18 months. And let me tell you, there are days we would get up and just be like, why are we still fighting for this? And it was good that not one of us was down, like, or better stated, it was good that when one of us was down, we weren't all down together because we probably would have just stopped because it's so arduous because there's this like mental narrative in the background telling you you're not going to win at this. Just call it the imposter and then you're going, why am I doing this? And so we would lift each other up. Our customers were cheering us on. And before that, I defined grit and resilience as like you get up and you keep going and you push. And what I recognized in this season was that resilience was really stopping and getting present so I could have clarity. And it gave me more insight to like why I care so much about healthy living and why it's so important to be ready for some of the tougher periods in your time so that you have the mindset and the physical capability to push yourself in ways you've never been pushed before. So all of a sudden, like I'm cold plunging, I'm getting every coach and mentor that I can to help me keep my head in the game. Lots of presence exercises, navigating what it means from a technical standpoint to be able to actually execute and getting it out, looking at different financial creative financing facilities to be able to stair step a rebuild, and then also trying to get creative, like how do you keep the company alive when you don't own it as you're watching it kind of fall apart? And so every day the one thing you had to do is not get into fight or flight because there was no reason why you couldn't or shouldn't be in fight or flight. And yet that was not going to serve you. Like we didn't think it was going to be a marathon and we hoped it wasn't going to be a marathon, but you don't know if it's going to be a marathon.
That's 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 unreal because I feel like a lot of the game when it comes to this entire situation, it's mental. And entrepreneurship in general, I feel like I definitely went through definitely not the lows that you had to experience after the acquisition, but just there's a lot of days where you feel like you're pushing against a rock that's coming right back down on you. And there's never any certainty on the other side of it. And it's a really it's probably the most difficult thing you will ever do in your entire life. Like it is genuinely something that will test you every single day. And honestly, like I think anybody who has started their own business or their own company and they've gone through, you mentioned it's your baby. Like you basically built this thing up to the point that it's at. You can't even watch it. You don't own it anymore, but you seeing something you built start to crumble, it probably hurts you even more to see that than just the financial loss that was associated with it. And I think it's one of those things I find it really like, honestly, your story is very inspiring. Like the way that you guys were able to get back on your feet, it's really inspiring to a lot of people who are genuinely probably going through similar things where things are not going well and just have to keep pushing through. And eventually there is something on the other side of that. I'm curious to really like dive a bit deeper into your, like, what's working so well for you guys right now? Like today you're in obviously this new age and obviously you've gone through your fair share of adversity to say the least, but you've gone through enough. And now what is really clicking? What's working for you? How do you plan on continuing this growth trajectory now that you're on for the next couple of years? Like what's really sticking now?
Well, it's been, let's say, 10 months since we signed the paperwork and then getting financing to get production going. And then we probably didn't have even our hero product in stock until maybe 6 months ago. And we still are working to get products in stock today. We have to be very strategic in terms of which gets to be produced first and so forth. And yeah, I had a large team that I don't have anymore. And we were in retail and kind of going, okay, we're not going to go back to retail in the same way that we did before because we have to preserve margin and we really have to stay where we can have the highest margin to put that to the bottom line, to put that into production. And I couldn't even go and market the products initially because I wasn't confident that we had enough product to support it. So it was just letting our initial customers know, hey, this product's back in stock as we kind of work our way in and building their trust. Like we didn't want to just all of a sudden be like, hey, we're back and not authentically share with them where we've been and that they can have confidence in the quality too, because the quality went down during that time period too, and so demonstrating to them that we're back to producing the product that has always been known to them. And we're in a new age, AI, modern technology, and so many of these projects, like we had just started working, like putting the brand on TikTok, and we were getting some beautiful traction, but then I had to stop because nothing was happening. So it's been very interesting to kind of pick up the pieces where they were left off. And I will tell you, the day that I had to fire everyone, the next day they showed up at our standard morning meeting and they all continued to show up until they couldn't because they needed to go and have their jobs. But when they could, they did. And it was so cool to see
That's amazing.
their commitment. And today, I still have people or former employees that are assisting and supporting and saying, okay, hey, how can I help? And when can I come back? Because I want to come back. I'm doing this thing until you give me the green light that I can come back. And so it's a slow and steady, and I'm using a lot of resources to learn this platform because I also had a digital marketing team. I mean, I had, 20 people working on that one department, and there is no department. I read dashboards that they created. Now I'm having to go in on the back end and go, what does this mean? AI has been a great tool, and that's wonderful in terms of being able to, and where Green Goo is unique from a marketing standpoint is it's not like a new brand where there isn't a lot of references to be able to history to go back to where AI, people are using all of these tools to go, okay, what product should I buy? What should I, purchase?
Right.
Well, good news is Green Goo's been around with a lot of publications for over a decade. And that really helps people find Green Goo and have credibility behind the brand, which is really helpful. But I mean, a perfect example is we had not worked on our website since, call it 2022. The transaction happened. Like all of a sudden I turn things on and I think, okay, everything's going to work great. Well, no, modern conversion rate optimization is very different than it was 3 years ago. It's very different than what it was 6 months ago.
Right.
Get the Andromeda algorithm updates and so forth, and how your ads are converting and how you're supposed to be creating your ads. All of a sudden, all of my assets that I thought I could use had to be changed. And so great. There are tools that can help me expedite those modifications, but it's been a interesting journey to learn, and I'm really enjoying it. Though I have to say, like the creative energy around it is really fun. I have to remind myself because I mean I'm in a startup. It feels very much 2.0 startup.
That's awesome. I think it's super cool because like AI and automation, it helps a lot of us, like we're wearing so many hats. You got the operations, you got the marketing, you got the sales, like there's so many different hats that we have to wear. But even for me, like when I first started, I'm going back like 2 years to our consulting practice, like our entire process was I would have to go make a list of people that we're targeting, give it to our sales guys. Our sales guys would pick up the phones, they'd be ringing them all day, and then you're following up through a traditional sales cycle, and then you're like booking a meeting, you put that into your calendar, and we're kind of just going along that way. And eventually, like once, honestly, I want to say the GPT boom kicked in, everybody just, we stepped back, we stopped all of our ads, we stopped doing everything. We're like, we need to regroup. And I think now I can't even remember the last time that somebody picked up a phone on our side to like actually reach out to people. It's completely different. Nobody's going to, if I cold called you right now, Jodi, you'd probably hang up on me before I could even finish a sentence. So like, so it's like completely different now. And the same thing happened with me. So now it's cool. Like with AI, your entire list creations for potential ICPs is automated. Like you give it a specific, like these are the people, this is the business size, company size, demographic, gender, whatever it is, location, interest targeting that you want. It'll give you lists of like 1,000, 1,500, 10,000 contacts you can reach out to. You put them into marketing cadences, automates all of your campaigns, creates them, books your meetings for you, puts them into your calendar. And now all you're doing is getting on calls and talking to people. Because for me, I think you can never automate the person at the end of the entire process. Like people at the end of the day will always buy from people, which is why when we actually rewired our entire, we kind of went through a 2.0 too, in a way where we kind of restructured that entire process. We're like, we need to work and not replace these jobs, but make them work hand in hand to make them easier. And I think that was the fine balance between the two where everything started kicking into gear. You mentioned something about like just not being from like a marketing background, a digital marketing background. And now like you've obviously been running ads before. You have like all these assets and creatives and things that you may have been running. And now you have all these dashboards, which I'm assuming are like your meta ads, market, like your business manager accounts and all these things that you're now having to manage. How is that for you? Like, do you have one dashboard that you're like checking in on every day, or are they kind of just sporadic and you're kind of looking in all these different places?
So initially, yes, I was looking in all of these different places. I did connect with a group, an international group that's sort of beta testing an AI integrative platform that not only brings all of this information into one place, but allows me to make requests like I want to make this creative and put it through this funnel and actually deploy ads through it, experimenting with them to help them build their model while also getting to know what that integrative dashboard could look like. And there's a lot of some of those are out there. So I'd be curious, like, what are your top three favorite AI tools that you use on a daily basis, excluding chat?
There's a couple, like, I don't want to, like, excluding the mainstream, like Perplexity and like ChatGPT. Like, we actually have internal tools. So, for example, for our sales team, we typically, our bottleneck before was we'll get appointments. Like, people will come to us and they'll want to talk to our team and see how we can help them. But we never really got past that first meeting. So our bottleneck was in our sales process. So we actually partnered with somebody to help build a sales call analyzer, which will take the entire transcript of a sales call and actually go through pain points, objection handling, suggestions, things A to Z that you can actually give to your sales team. So be like, all right, this is stuff that you guys did on the next call. It's essentially a coach. We partner with people who have grown sales teams to $0 to $2 million in like 12 to 24 months. So they actually leverage their expertise to give these custom made like feedbacks essentially. And our sales volume immediately went up. And now something cool is they're beta testing essentially, like instead of just analyzing calls after the fact and after they've been recorded, they're building something where, for example, I'm on a Zoom call with you. It'll actually join the call, but it's only visible to our sales rep and it'll give you live coaching to different objections that you're actually facing. So it's like really cool, unique things that you can't even like fathom that these things are happening. But we're starting to look at that and trying to implement those first in our own sales process to see how it works. And so far, we're looking at really cool things. So I think for us, they're more internal tools that we're actually like helping to build and leverage. But beyond that, we have a couple of things when it comes to, obviously you have your generic transcript analyzers. So if I'm, for example, on a call, it'll record it, transcripts are taken. But I think our end-to-end processes right now, like there's a cool software online. It's called Arc Ads, if you've heard of it, but it's essentially used to help create AI creatives. So it'll look like I'm talking, but I don't have to record a video. I don't need to hire an expensive camera crew to like go record things at my offices or anything. You give it a whole script. This is what I want you to record. This is the type of person I want on my video. And it'll actually build a full Facebook ads targeted type of creative for you. So there's a bunch of cool things out there. We've kind of been playing around with it, and I don't want to act like we've perfected it yet, but we've definitely tried to do things differently. And I think the biggest thing to answer your question, like for dashboards, we actually used to use Salesforce all the way up until I want to say 2022. And then we actually, for the time being, there was a period in the middle, tough. We were actually using like Google Sheets to manage all of our leads and our prospecting information. So there was a period in the middle because we had to get away from that. But now we're actually using something where it's all in one encompassing. It has your CRM built into it. It has essentially, you can run, if you're running like sales calls, it has that sales call analyzer built into it. So you can copy the transcripts directly, go into that. You have like, for example, we're running email campaigns for outbound to potential clients. It uses AI to build us like 10 different copies, 10 different variants. Like it'll automate that entire process. So everything is all encompassing into one. And it's just cool. Like now my guys, like they're not working 8-10 hours a day anymore. We're working 2 to 3 hours a day. Like you have way more balance and it's way more efficient. It's day and night.
Right. No, that's wonderful. I love that. And I love how you share the other side of the coin, which is when you bring those efficiencies into your organization, it can really impact the hygiene of your relationship with work and things outside of work, which then obviously continue to foster and cultivate into your organization as well. Like that's cool.
No, it's one of those things. I genuinely value our team and our people. Like I'm sure you do too. Like there's a reason why people that you may have fired are still waiting to come back because you probably built that and now they want to be part of something bigger and they don't see it as just another job. Like they're part of something that you guys have all built together. And that's the same type of atmosphere and culture that we built. And I think your people are your most important asset. Regardless of where AI takes us, it'll always be that. So I'm a
I
firm
agree.
believer in it. I'm a firm believer in that. I do want to ask you before we wrap up, we're coming off to the end of our time here, but you being so like seasoned now in the business entrepreneurial space, and obviously now we've seen such a shift with AI, automation. People are thinking, they're scared of it. There's like so much fear around where the world is headed in the next 5-10 years. If you were like your 20-year-old self, and the reason we ask this question is for the younger audience, like people that are coming in, trying to get to your point one day, what advice would you give yourself to really like phase out all the extra noise? Because there's a lot of content on social media, YouTube. You can ingest all of it and just be burnt out by it. How do you really just stay laser focused and understand how to balance all this right now? Like what advice would you give yourself 20 years ago?
So when we were talking earlier just about how I had to navigate the difficult time and investing in myself to be able to stay present and have that mindset to go into the boxing match, if you will. And something that I didn't do as a earlier first time entrepreneur is I did not give myself permission to invest in myself in that way or my community because I was like, not allowed to have a social life. They can all go out and party. I'm just going to keep the grind. And all of a sudden, you find yourself in this situation where I did not invest into my mental and physical health or my community, which was the community that I needed to be able to help me with the things that I didn't know to be able to navigate the situation. So, from a younger self standpoint, unplug, put it down and have very designated times where you're not plugged into it and invest in yourself and that community that's outside of your virtual community, and find your tribe. Like, find those people that are going to challenge you professionally, challenge you mentally, even on your wellness journey, hold you accountable. Create your own POS system that's like your own operating system to say what is going to serve you. And you don't have to meditate for 2 hours a day. There's enough science to support that if you just get present 30 seconds at a time, multiple times throughout the day, it has the same impact, if not better, than a 2-hour meditation period. So, find yourself, go look at the horizon, go put your feet on the ground, take some deep breaths, rub your fingertips together, do some sound exercises, like build your mental fitness, invest in your mental fitness the same way you go to the gym and you work out and you do the reps and you invest in that. And then take the time to be like, what community, whether it's like YPO or EO or, whatever those organizations are, your gym coach, that holds you accountable and that you invest in that time with them. They have a saying like, build the well before you're thirsty so that you have this to tap into when it's really important. Don't wait until you're dehydrated and you need it. And I mean that from a wellness community mindset standpoint.
It's not cliche. I think a lot of people think mental fitness is very cliche. There's a stigma around mental health, even to this day. I think my biggest thing too is the most successful people, you'll always hear them talking about before they even took care of their physical side, they had to lock into their mental side. They had to start separating themselves, because it's my favorite saying that you are a product of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I was at a point a couple of years ago where full transparency, wasn't surrounding myself around the people that were at the level that I imagined for my future as well. And you're completely right. Once you separate yourself and you find your tribe, I really like that wording. For me, it was just a separate group. It was away from my friends that I went to school with. It was just a separate group that I met through like public networking events, whatever the case may be. And we just started talking about life. It wasn't even business. We weren't trying to make money together. It was just, how do you approach your day to day? Like, what do you do? What's your morning routine like? What's your nighttime routine like? And like, it was just so refreshing to hear a different perspective beyond just, I'm going to open my phone first thing in the morning and I'm scrolling TikTok for like an hour before I even get up. And at that point, your brain is already fried and you can't even like think of anything anymore. So completely agree with you. I want to wrap up, Jodi. I know we're a little over, but I really, really appreciate all the little tidbits that you dropped today. This was a super fun conversation. Before we wrap up, can you just tell everybody where they can find you again, your website, any social media pages, anything else?
Got it. I mean, the best place to find us is greengoo.com. We've got our Amazon. You can shop any of the products there as well. You can find me on LinkedIn at Jodi A. Scott. And then any of the social channels, Green Goo helps, like HELPS, that we're helping people. And please do reach out. I really enjoy spending time with our customers, whether it's curating the right assortment of products for them, or really just engaging with them and getting to know them and what serves them. And I really believe that this journey that we went through is an opportunity for us to take those learnings and share with more people.
Beautiful. Honestly, Jodi, this was great. I enjoyed myself a lot to learn from you too, firsthand. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on today.
Thank you. It was great to be here with you.
Awesome. Take care.